Let me show something on the body, that's what I think.
But you have to see the biomechanoids, because that's where the idea is. That's, if you want to stay current, alienist history. Let's eat the cat.
Tentacles more. Was it probably because let me tell you how alternative tentacles works. More artists I wish we could work with than we have the money to do. We would rather do one artist well than put out 100 records and forget to tell anybody we made them or something like that. And we also try to pay the artists their royalties on time and honestly, so we don't have the kind of money to throw around that some labels whose names I'm not going to mention. I mean, that's how they got the money to put out so many records, was they didn't pay the bands. And plus, and the kind of people that we like to work with are people who are different, who are really good live. If they're threatening to the government or status quo, or they just shock the audience, so much the better. And also it helps to have good lyrics, because that's a clue that it's cool people. I mean, if all a band wants to sing about is that fucking slut bitch done me wrong, suck my dick, buy my record, I want to be a rich rock star, we probably will not be very good friends. We like to put records out by people who are our brothers and sisters, our friends. And do the best we can for them. And I've noticed, especially when the major labels came in, they were more interested in the so-called grunge bands, who were very open about the fact that they didn't care about anybody but themselves, and they just wanted to write songs about fucking and making money and being rock stars. It's a way of diluting the underground culture and trying to wipe away the people who use underground music as a way of trying to wake up people's brains. I think one of the reasons the major labels, who were so resistant to signing any underground rock music until 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, why they finally did start signing Sonic Youth and Nirvana and whatnot, because they were so scared of white kids listening to rap. They did not like white suburban rich kids listening to NWA or Public Enemy or Ice-T or the Ghetto Boys and realizing how fucked up America really is.
So they didn't want to listen to the black kind of punk,
yeah, exactly.
which
because thanks to Reagan and Bush, America is a much more hateful, violent, racist place than it was 10 or 12 years ago.
So for you, most of the grunge bands are probably too non-critical, or in general.
Well, on top of it, now that Nirvana has gotten famous, we get 10 tapes a week of bands that sound exactly like Nirvana or exactly like Helmet. I almost wish they would start sounding exactly like Black Flag again. Like that. I'm sick of these bands. At least it's better than the ones we started getting all these REM clones for a while. I don't know why they thought we would like them.
Yeah.
I mean, we probably get 50 or more tapes a month now, and I try to listen to them all. I don't have time to listen to them all, but I do the best I can. But I just am amazed at how few of them are even trying to be original. If they're good or they're original, I try to send them a letter back to encourage them to keep going, so that the world has some good music as well as all the horrible music.
Yeah, of course.
But you have to be musically interesting before I get interested.
Yeah.
Which some people may criticize me then for sticking with DOA for so long, who has a new album out on Alternative Tentacles. But it's a good album. I mean, they're really good at what they do.
It's a good band. They do it for many years, but they're still fresh. It's still...
And they're still really good
still
live.
Just exploding.
And they're great songwriters, too. I mean, the new album that just came out called Loggerheads has very well-written songs on it that comparing it to the Urge Overkill album or something, the DOA songs are way better.
Yeah, stronger. Then to America's future. But
that's why it takes me so long to write new songs, is I try to write good songs instead of. That's a craft that people were very conscious of in 50s, 60s. It kind of got lost in the 70s. It came back again with the early punk bands, and then once there was a way to copy those bands, then people quit writing good songs. Or maybe some of them have been the ones who did try to write good songs got big, like Husker Du or something. I mean, I come far enough back in the punk scene from when the early bands were all trying to sound different from each other. There was no growing up listening to the Sex Pistols or the Ramones as a child. You know, we were only 2 or 3 years younger than them, and so we were listening to 60s stuff, 50s, the Stooges.
Some kind of, yeah.
I mean, you'd go to a party and we wouldn't find nothing but punk records. You'd find old records from junk stores like the Ronettes, the Ventures, the Music Machine, or whatever. So the pressure between the different bands was to everybody just sound different from each other. If you sounded too much like another band, the audience didn't like you.
Yeah, because they have heard it better before. This is today the same, I think. I mean, many bands.
Well, I think it's totally the opposite.
Yeah.
I think now, as what I'm saying earlier, too many people just try to sound like some other band and don't even try to get their own sound. Or they make records too early instead of waiting 1 or 2 years until they have something really special to
This is a
offer.
big danger today, of course. But you know, in Europe it's a little bit different. People, if they say very fast that this is just a fake band of trying to play the same shit than a better band does, you know. What do you think America's future? Do you think the whole school system for black people will become better, or will it become worse, and will America have more?
Well, I don't think there's going to be much change under Clinton. Clinton is like Jimmy Carter. He's packaged for the public, or presented to the public as an alternative to Republican fascism and corruption, and people think, hooray, now there's going to be this big change. But like Carter, Clinton is in with the same people that Bush was and stuff, and he knows his purpose there is to preserve the power and wealth of the rich. And so
of course, but I mean,
and so I think you know, he had a chance to be a president that could really change things, like Franklin Roosevelt. He has this chance, but he is not using this chance.
Do you really think? Me, I fear that the mad people behind him are the same people of the CFR.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that he's going to do business for them, and that's all that's going to happen, really.
So do you think it will?
I would rather have him president than Perot president. Perot is a Nazi.
Yeah.
But he's, well, I mean, the way he thinks, he's been compared a lot to Mussolini in the way he thinks. So, and he may well be president in 1996. He has $1 billion to buy it with. What does he have to lose?
So you will think that America will have more social riots, things like that going on?
People are afraid to riot. They're even afraid to demonstrate for the most part. You hardly ever even have demonstrations in America that are very big. And even if they are big, the mass media will not let anybody else know that they even happened. 200,000 people gathered to protest the Gulf War in San Francisco. In Vietnam, it took 8 years to get that many people to protest the Vietnam War. It took 2 weeks with the Gulf War. People have not forgotten. But you turn on the TV, and there were 15 seconds about the protest, and then they gave another 5 minutes to 50 people in a conservative suburb waving American flags saying, support our troops, we like the Gulf War. So it's hard to, you know, the underground communication and news network is not...
Bad.
It's not that, oh no, it's not banned, but it's just, it's very hard to communicate beyond the small number of people who already know how fucked up things are and how much, and already agree with you. You know, the 95% of America believes what they see on television. And now that multinational corporations have bought the American news networks, General Electric owns NBC, so they covered the war like a video game because they made the weapons.
Of course. Yeah.
And so mostly the message they give more and more is the simple, instead of being journalists or news, the message is shut up and shop. Shut up and shop.
Be happy, shut up and shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Then how's the economical...
Can you flip that tape later, or
yeah,
is this the last we can do?
No, I can. How's the... in America, I've been said that the economical situation for musicians are very bad, as well for many for many other peoples. How do you make a living with alternative tentacles records? I mean,
I don't live off of alternative tentacles. I draw no money from the record company. I only get money as an artist for artist royalties for all my records. And I've made a lot of them, and I'm grateful that people, each generation keeps buying them, and that keeps me alive. Plus there's the live spoken word shows, and the fact that I don't do stupid shit with my money. I learned early on how to live cheap and how to barter for things I want. You know, if I want records from Switzerland, I'll send American records to a friend in the mail, and they'll send them to me, and we just barter like that. That's my only addiction, is music. Otherwise, I mean, I don't pay money for drugs. I had a choice when I first moved to San Francisco. Everybody I knew almost was doing a lot of speed and drugs and things, and I realized, shit, if I have a little bit of, if I have $5 or $20 extra, which wasn't that common then, I could either spend it on speed or spend it on a whole bunch of records. Shit, I'm not going to buy speed, I want to buy records.
Of course.
So, Tipper Gore is wrong about rock music making you have bad health and kill yourself. Rock music saved me from drugs.
But what is rock music for you? For me, it's some kind of transformation of energy. Would you share this opinion? Or?
I guess that's one way. I've never tried to define it.
Okay.
It's just a certain kind of sound that gives me energy and makes me happy, and it is a certain kind of spiritual energy that could not have been made in anything but an industrialized society.
And totally other thing, have you ever thought about leaving the States to go probably to travel more to Europe, to tour more to Europe?
I think I already answered that. I just don't have all the free time I want. If there's free time, I can either take a holiday or write more songs. So it's been crazy in a way that it's been so long since I've been to Europe. I feel sad about that, but someday I always intend to come back.
We would like to see you very much over there in New York, I can tell you. Okay, so...
Well, only if it's something worth seeing.
Yeah, so...
I explained that earlier.
So I think we got it. Yeah, what do you think, final question probably, what do you think could be changed in the States by the whole democratic system or so, also? What do you think? You have a better idea, something that would work better than the so-called democracy?
Well, I think a parliamentary system would be a good way to start, and ban all private contributions for political campaigns. You just also, I mean, the first step is more communication between people, which people are starting to do on computers if they understand how to work a computer. But for everybody else, they can't log onto the internet or whatever, and communicate that way. So I would like to see more pirate radio, pirate TV. It would be great if everybody who had something to say could just set up their own TV station and then say, well, if you were interested, you could just tune in and see it play. I mean, I wouldn't mind having my own television station myself.
Yeah, that's what would be great.
But also, I mean, Ralph Nader, the consumer activist here, had the idea of forcing all commercial TV networks to give the public half an hour every night to let anybody come up and say anything they want.
So full free speech.
Yeah, instead of controlled speech where you can only really say what you want if you're rich. I mean, the freedom of the press belongs to people who own the press. So that's why I have alternative tentacles, is so I can do what I want to without the people who control Nirvana and Sonic Youth and many of my other friends. They can't tell me what to say.
Yeah. So, okay. I thank you very, very much for keeping up this possibility of last free speech in America. Or you're probably
okay,
one
well,
of
you were
the last
asking me if I was
ones.
going to move to. It sounds like you're asking me if I want to live in Europe or move to Europe.
Yeah.
And, my answer is I like to visit Europe, but this is my home. America is the craziest place I've ever seen. Home is where the disease is. In Europe, I'm from a mountain town in Colorado. I'm not from San Francisco. I'm much more of I'm somebody who likes to live, you know, among nature and away from cities. I also like to be where the action is, so yes, I will live in San Francisco, but one thing that's always bothered me about Europe is I've never really seen any place in Europe that doesn't have a fence around it in some way. You know what I mean? Everything is owned property. You can't just go walk somewhere and it's just there. I mean, I'm sure there's places like that in the Alps or some other places, but I'm also one of these people. I know there's a great mystique in Europe about the open road in America and the desert, the mountains, the prairie, whatever. I admit I'm like that too. I like to be in a place that doesn't feel so fenced off and full of so many people. Besides, there's no good Mexican food in Europe.
This is a good reason to not to come over. Okay, thank you very much. I think, come on, it's...
Well, just for the record, the alternative tentacles in England started before the one in America. The original idea was just to release Let Them Eat Jelly Beans so we could get attention for American bands because nobody was paying attention over there. The people who came to the gigs would ask me about them, but the journalists or the British record companies, they didn't want to know about American bands, so I figured something has to be done to change that. Unfortunately, now maybe it has worked too well, where people, even in England, are more interested in American bands than the bands in their own hometown. Alice Donuts said on their whole last European tour they played with nothing but American bands and found it very frustrating because they couldn't hear what was going on in Europe, and they felt very sad for the European bands who were getting pushed out of the way. This is especially sad in Eastern Bloc countries, where there was enough of a unique sound there that even people who tried to sound like Western hardcore punk bands sounded very strange to my ears, and I liked them for that. And now, even in Hungary and Czechoslovakia, and even in Russia now, there's more and more bands that are sounding exactly like American or European bands, and all the native folk music influence is disappearing. But there are still some great ones there that have managed to save that. I mean, that's what you ask, what kind of music do I listen to? You know, I try to find, both, the strangest things from all over the world that don't sound exactly like bands in San Francisco.
That's what I share as well. I love it. Yeah, just underground. I think we got it.
Yeah.
And we got to leave to the Boris show.
I think we do. So we probably missed John Boy, but Slug are pretty good too. Boy, these questions are longer than the interview. I'm glad I didn't try to do this by mail.
I think we got it. I got it. We got it. Hey, thank you very, very much for taking time for that.
Here's one more. I'm going to try and add in things. When you ask about getting people to think more critically, I tried to do that from the music from the very beginning. I believe there is an American term called shock value, and I believe in the value of shock value. That's what I like about Giger's work too. It may not always be pretty, but it always gets the brain moving. I mean, even thinking about the fact that we might record something tonight, I got this song in my head before I left Tom the Alice Donut's apartment, so I turned on my tape recorder, and there's another piece of music. Another one I may never have time to finish. I don't know. Let's see. But what I'm saying is, I mean, what means the most to me is when people do come up to me and say, your music or your words or your whole attitude towards life changed the way I thought about my life. Some people have told me that they even switched their field when they were at the university and decided they didn't want just to be a businessman or a scientist for a global corporation or something. Or sometimes they'll even say, well, this is what, I liked your music, now here, have my record. This is a film I made. This is something I wrote. I mean, this is spreading of positive disease. And that means a lot more to me than somebody just asking for an autograph.
Yeah, of
or
course.
something like that. Is, when I realize that, I've helped spit back everything I've absorbed and helped infect somebody else.
This is probably what Geiger is doing as well. I mean, he's getting rid of his carings and his spitting. Yeah, he's spitting everything. Spitting.
Did you ever see my collage art?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Did you see the Fuck Facts newspaper?
Yeah, this one's very beautiful. I've
Do you have all three of them?
No, I have just the one in plastic surgery.
Oh, so you haven't seen because you haven't seen the newspaper ones.
No, that's the truth. I got that one in It's Bad Time for Democracy.
Okay, yeah, there's another one that would be in Giger's album too. The spoken word albums have them too. So you can put any of that in the article if you want to show some of my visual art, because I also, you can turn this back on. Maybe this is a better way to say it. My biggest problem is I just don't have enough time to do all the things I like to do. I mean, if I spent all my time doing my visual collage art, maybe I could get a gallery show like Giger or something. But I just, I haven't had a chance to make collages in 2 or 3 years. People keep sending me weird pictures, and I keep finding them myself, but I haven't made anything with them yet. So the part of my problem is I'm trying to deal with 5 or 6 careers now. Music, spoken word, political activist, visual art, acting, and alternative tentacles. And then maybe if I have a little time, then even my so-called hobby is just one more obsession, listening to other people's music. I'm sort of a serious musicologist, too.
So you get more than 24 hours a day something to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very, very much, Jello. It's really...
Okay, well, you have to send me copies when
I'm going to do that.
out.
I'm going to do that. You want to listen? Also, we have not made it after this. You got it, so you get all the address and things like that.
Oh, I guess I should keep this. Yeah.
You don't have to, but you can.
I admit, I don't put this in the article, but one of the reasons I don't just live in different towns at different times is because...
Fleischmatte, weißt du?
I used to have dreams when I had bad acne on my face. I would dream that I would tear one off and there would be a worm inside, and then I'd find more of them and more of them, and they were all over the inside of my face. It's cool. Oh, yeah, that's good. Hey.
So you got it back from the gallery, right?
With the camera like that.
The last journalist was Rick
Shoop. Yeah. And he's the manager of residence, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
He asked me about me.
He's a good friend of what?